All right, this is for the RMAX guys. So we have a RMAX clutch here. This is the one we just took out. I think it's only got like 60 miles on it or so. But we're gonna replace this whole assembly with ours. I have Kyle here.
Howdy.
RMAX man. He's gonna kind of show us a couple things. A bunch of questions I get is like, do we run grease in our weights?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, grease or greaseless, this is a personal preference. No matter what, the clutches need to come apart to get serviced, so even when they come apart, you're going to end up cleaning them out, so it's a little bit less work to run them greaseless. And our setups can be ran greaseless if you do prefer one way or the other, but we typically always will put grease in when we do them.
Grease is going to make them last longer?
The shift is a little bit smoother, lasts a little bit longer, some of the cooling properties, yeah.
Okay, so let's take a weight. How much grease do you usually put on? And so if they want the grease, it doesn't come with the kit. We have the 2-ounce grease, but we just use that for the inside on the shaft.
So the included grease is designed to be used for the bearing. So you're going to come inside the primary sheave and you're going to coat the inside.
Good little coating.
And you're going to get that good. You don't want to have that dry because you burn the bearing up if you do not get the grease in there.
Okay, so if they want grease, would you recommend they need to get the 4-ounce jar, the 11032?
Yep, so the 4-ounce will be enough to do all of the grease for the weight pockets, service the secondary, service the primary. It covers that whole.
Okay, so if we're going to do this, we have the new sheave, we have the new weight. How would you go about greasing it?
So for the weight pockets, this is another one we get asked a lot. How much do we use? So in that 4-ounce, I just take a tablespoon and wipe it flush to some degree there. Take the weight and push it down right in there.
Just like that, huh?
And that's all you'll need for each of the weight pockets.
So looking at the stock sheet, Kyle, this is, if we just did like a tablespoon in each weight, this is probably more than what we would use.
There's quite a bit more in the stock clutch generally when they come apart.
Yeah, okay.
And then once the weights are all in, before we go together with the sliders and the drive plate, you do want to coat all of the sliding towers just so they've got grease coming up and down in there. You get a good coating on there.
That's where these little sliders are going to go in, and they're going to slide up and down on that?
Yep.
Okay, so coat those good too.
And then once you've got the weights placed, the grease in, the sliders greased, installing the sliders to the drive plate. So there is a notch on one side of these. That notch does need to face the bottom. Okay. So it needs to be facing down. So if it's ever flipped upside down, it's not going to shift right. It's going to do some weird stuff.
So notch facing down. Also, I see it's like a wider on the bottom. It's wider, so the
Yep.
wider side down too.
Yep, wider with the notch will be on the bottom side. There is a tool with every one of our kits for installing these sliders. You can press them on by fingers or not, but it'll hold it in place. And then you can push down to make sure they're fully seated in there.
So basically like the fatter side's on the bottom.
Yep.
And then the skiddier side's on the top because it has to fit in that area. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And then once that's all ready, you can throw the drive plate back on, take the O-ring, and if you're doing a new one, replace it. If you're doing the same or reusing the stock O-ring like we are with this one.
That's pretty important too, huh? Because it keeps the grease inside there so it doesn't get over your belt.
Yep, so that's important.
So take time with that.
Yeah, it is helpful. You can run a little bit of grease silicone around just so when you do go actually put the cover back on, it'll slide down, it won't rip and tear,
grab it
and push over that edge.
So when we're installing this cover, you said you have a trick for it?
Yeah, a little bit of a trick, because sometimes it'll get hard and wonky and it'll slide around. You can,
out of alignment.
Yeah, you can take and line up the bolt holes. You can start one of the Phillips heads on both sides, and that'll just align the holes so that you can just press it down and seat it into place.
Okay, cool. There you go.